Hey, everybody. And hey,
We're here.
how are
Just
you?
us for right now.
Yes,
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Are you ready for this chit chat?
The figure Gore.
I know. I remember when Kenny came up with that name. I loved it.
Kenny Casanova, for those who don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, just in case we run into a snag, I got something here in case we need a hand. Okay.
Oh,
Just in case.
that's terrible.
Actually, it's even worse than that. If this is a cast of a buddy of mine. We did a film called the Guardian. So he actually cast his hand. It's all latex, But if you notice, it's in quite the interesting position. And so I constantly tease him. I'm here alone with his hand.
Ew.
And he keeps telling me to stop it. That's my torture for him.
So I don't know a lot about your film background.
I own a film company, JX3 Media, and been doing it for about 8 years now. All variety from, we did a musical, well, not a musical, but there was music in it, to horror, to shorts, to web series. We do everything.
Cool.
Yes, I love film.
I guess we should introduce ourselves.
Yes.
I'm Jamie Hemmings, and I am the book editor, or I'm better known as the book editor for slamwrestling.net, and a pro wrestling and horror enthusiast.
Yes. As we were talking earlier, you can tell by your decor. I love.
And this is what it looks like all year round, folks. It's Halloween 365 days a year here.
But you cannot go wrong with Jack Skellington. That's all I'm going to say.
And there's a big Jack Skellington way back here you can't really see, but he's here, parts of him. I couldn't get him all on the screen.
Oh, I see his hand moving. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a big one. That's nice.
Yeah, he's like 6 feet tall. Yeah.
Holy smoke.
I'm a little obsessed with The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I see that. So then you must have the Yahtzee set, right?
I do not. Oh. I should get that.
It's cool because the shaking cup is Jack's head.
Oh, that's even cooler. I didn't realize that. I know they have Monopoly. They have all sorts of things. Disney has done their marketing on The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, big time. Big time. So what's it like being an editor?
It's cool. I've been a bookworm, since I learned how to read. I've always loved books. I'm more of an introverted person. So, I liked books. I liked watching horror movies. I liked watching wrestling. So now to be my job that I have to track down wrestling books, assign wrestling books to people and read some myself and interview authors. It's my 7-year-old dream. Like if I could tell my 7-year-old self that would just be, I wouldn't believe it. Yeah.
A buddy of mine, Jeff here, he is actually the lead singer of a band called Fighting Grace. They played at our film festival a couple weeks ago.
Oh, cool. Welcome, Jeff.
He said, wrestling and horror, two of my favorite things. That's exactly what made us pick this topic.
Well, something I always found interesting is, and this isn't always the case, but a lot of pro wrestling fans also like horror. And actually, with Slam Wrestling having a new site, I got to be the book editor, and I've gotten to know a lot more people involved in wrestling in various ways. And it's so interesting. So many of them will say, oh yeah, I like horror too. And we're, sharing our favorite horror movies and, recommending some and just talking about it in general. And I don't, what do you think the connection is? Why do you think that is?
I honestly think it's the adrenaline.
Yeah.
Because you watch wrestling and you get your adrenaline pumped. Like literally, I don't know why. I put on WrestleMania 28, Triple H versus Undertaker, Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
And I found myself getting pumped up. Like, I got to be honest, I have not watched wrestling really in about 8 or 9 years. And I'll just the odd show. After about 2003, it really died down for me.
Yeah.
And then I went TNA and stuff, and I kind of watched it a little bit, and then I got out of it again. I haven't gotten back into it until recently. Jeffrey's got a good point. I feel it's the raw intensity crossed with the suspended belief.
I think it's also the escapism too, and the fantasy. That's just, and I don't know, for me, both are such an outlet. Like my favorite horror movie is Carrie, the Sissy Spacek version. There's a few versions out there. Go see the Sissy Spacek one first, and then if you want to see the other ones, fine. But for me, I was a kid who was bullied, and not that I had homicidal tendencies like Carrie did, but one of the things I was bullied about was being a wrestling fan. And then seeing the Carrie movie and just seeing her, like, it was just kind of a way that she, like, for me, it was like watching, I was like, yeah, and a way to get the rage out of what was going on in my life, in a safe way. Like, I didn't burn down the school like she did. Spoiler alert, but, so I think it's an escapism. I think it's a way of coping too. And wrestling and horror, they just seem to both do that for me.
See, and that's what I think too. When we were watching wrestling, even tonight when I was watching that match, it was like,
Yeah.
you don't do that for drama films or comedies. Horror, you do that a lot. It's that adrenaline connection, I think.
What's your favorite horror movie, Rob?
The Thing.
The Thing, yeah.
Yes.
Like the John Carpenter or the original?
No, not The Thing from Another Planet. The Thing. John Carpenter, 1982. Yes. That movie.
My neighbor, his favorite is The Thing from Another Planet.
He likes the original?
Yeah.
See, the original is fun. I just find the remake in 82, and maybe that's just because of the quality of production at the point. I find it more believable than the first one. But the one I think it was filmed in the 50s. Again, they had limited budget, limited ability to film,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what it is anyway.
Well, in John Carpenter, I find even if I'm not a big fan of his films, like I didn't like of a film he's done, like I'm not a big fan of Prince of Darkness, but I don't watch any of his films and go, oh, I wish I wouldn't have seen that. Like it's always, you're always in for a quality experience, even if it's not your favorite film after with John Carpenter. He's just
I love how John Carpenter always left his films open-ended. I don't think there was a single one, and people correct me if I'm wrong, that didn't end on a cliffhanger almost.
Yeah.
Like Prince of Darkness, they fight these demons through the mirrors, and at the very end, he's reaching for that mirror, and then it cuts to black.
Yeah.
Or Halloween, if you look at the original Halloween, she sees him on the ground, she looks back, he's gone. Everything is open-ended for him.
Well, and Halloween is still going. I mean, they were supposed to have a new one this year, but with COVID, they're postponing their. So hopefully next year, because they want people to come to theaters. So it's disappointing, but I understand. So yeah, this many years, was that done in the 70s or something? So this many years later, decades later, we're still going with it.
Sadly, to me, like Halloween is my franchise. I adore Halloween. Unfortunately for me, Halloween ends on Halloween 4.
Okay.
Just that full circle, the opening shot of Halloween with little Michael pulling the mask down, and that is the end shots of Halloween 4 with Jamie, the new Danielle Harris.
Danielle Harris, yeah.
So it's almost like a full circle,
Yeah.
And to me, like once they get into 5 and 6, and it's like, oh, now you're just getting crazy. But I still watch them, and I still love them.
Yeah, I still watch them too, but I think it's valid what you're saying. My franchise is Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
I grew up very sheltered and in a very small town, so I didn't have a lot of access to horror movies and things like that. So I had a friend that lived in the city, and she actually told me about Freddy Krueger, but I had no idea who that was. We didn't have internet or anything like that for me to look this up. And I actually thought this was a real person she was talking about. So I was scared to sleep. Like, I didn't know who this was. There was nowhere for me to go to find this out. Like, my parents wouldn't have known and stuff. So, and then eventually when I did see the movie, like, because he was just this creepy figure, because I first thought he was real. And then you find out he's fiction, but it was just such a great character. And Robert Englund is just such a great actor.
He is. Jeff said his Hill House is his favorite. I think that's the original title.
Is it Haunting of Hill House?
I think that's what it is, yeah.
That one is a good one. It's very psychological. Yeah. Do you have movies that you watch every Halloween, like that are kind of your classics that you got to watch?
I do. Now, a lot of them are just by friends that I know.
Oh, cool.
Local area. One of them is over here. This one, Bite.
What's it called? I can't read it.
It's called Bite.
Bite, okay.
And it is about a woman. I think her name was Casey. So I've seen it like 9 times and I can't remember her name. But she's getting married. And so she goes on a bachelorette party to the Caribbean. And while swimming in this hidden little grotto, she gets bitten by something. And then she comes back and starts to feel weird. She thinks she's getting cold feet, but actually she's turning into whatever bit her.
Ah.
And it's up there with David Cronenberg as far as body horror because she's transforming, literally transforming during this movie. It's got the most unsettling scene of her. She's licking this paper to and sticking it to stuff to make a nest, and
Mm-hmm.
the entire time these little clear eggs are dribbling out of her mouth. It's just it's
I'll have to, yeah, you'll have to, I'll look that one up. I have to see that one. I
yeah.
like body horror stuff too, especially Cronenberg.
Oh yeah, then this one is a go-to, 100%.
Yeah, I love Cronenberg.
That is, you can watch it on a website, blackfawndistribution.com, and then VOD.
Okay, I will check that out.
Yeah,
I'm writing it down so I don't forget the title later because I keep little pieces of paper all the time. I keep a big Excel spreadsheet. That's how nerdy I am of horror movies I still want to see because I read a lot of horror magazines and stuff too. And I'll be like jotting, and I do the same for books as well, just horror books and books I want to read. So do you read, are you a reader? Like, I know you know how to read, but do you read like horror books?
I have to be honest. I used to read extensively. My biggest collection was Star Wars novels.
Okay.
Up until Disney bought it and they declared them legends. And I haven't bought a novel from them since, just because my boycott. I love that whole expanse that they built. Okay. Mm-hmm. But since I got into filming and podcasting and film festivals and Comic-Cons, and I really haven't had time to breathe, let alone crack open a book again. And it's breaking my heart because I see so many. I bought The Witcher, the first book.
Oh yeah, my husband's reading that.
Right. And I got like 6 pages into it. That was almost 2 years ago. And I haven't been able to pick it up since.
It's foreign to me because with my job, I'm always reading. Like when one book ends, it's another wrestling book. So, but I do understand the being like, I remember my university days, I would deliberately try and take some classes that were English classes so I would be able to read because you just didn't have leisure time to read. So
yeah,
that's how nerdy I am. But
that was me all the time. You couldn't see me without a book cracked open before. So I miss it so bad.
Do you have a favorite wrestler?
That's a loaded question. You know that is. I can't give the wrong answer for this one. When I was growing up, it was Michael Hayes.
Oh, okay.
Because I was a big Freebirds fan. This is back when my cousin and I used to watch it on the little black and white TV. We were moving the antenna around, trying to get it from Detroit, the signal. And Magnum TA was there, Nikita Koloff. Oh my God, now I can't think of half the people I used to watch. But the Freebirds were the ones that always caught my attention. And then from there, it branched out. Well, obviously, Sid is one of my favorites. I have to say that.
You have to say Sid.
Exactly.
Yeah. For people who don't know, Rob does the Vicious Circle. Is that
Yes.
the name? Yes, the podcast with Sid. Yes.
Yeah. So I have to say that. But
yes.
As far as mainstream goes as well, I was a big Jake the Snake fan. Just because of his swagger almost.
I have an embarrassing Michael Hayes story. Up until about a few months ago, the song that they would sing?
Oh, Bad Street USA?
Okay, I didn't know it was Bad Street. For years, I've been singing it as Backstreet USA. And then I was like putting old Slam articles onto the news site and I see it in there and I'm like, so I email or message Greg Oliver, the producer of Slam, and I'm like, is it really Bad Street? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I've been singing Backstreet, which doesn't make any sense. I thinking about it for years, when he was inducted in the Hall of Fame, singing along and stuff. Yeah, totally thought it was Backstreet, not Bad Street.
But see, I can get that, especially because of the band, And you hear it so often, that's kind of what it sounds like.
It does, but it's really ridiculous when you think about it that it's Bad Street. But,
yeah, but it is good too. Someone here came up with a question.
Sure.
Who's the best wrestler to step into horror?
I recently saw, I've been putting it off because I heard it wasn't very good, but I saw finally See No Evil, and Kane is in that. And the movie's not great, by the way, but I think Kane is great as a villain, has a great look. I mean, he's a mayor now, he's moved on, but because I remember when he first came on and I was younger, I was very scared. Like I was a Steve Austin fan and he was having to face Kane, and I was like really concerned for Steve Austin's health, because to me Kane was just such a monster. So
Yeah,
for
he
me, it's
was.
always Kane. Yeah, I just wish the movie was better. I haven't seen part 2 yet, but
Well, he kind of hit mine, because mine's Tyler Mane.
Oh,
But see, Tyler Mane was a wrestler, but only for a little while, you know.
yeah.
And but then he jumped in. He was Michael Myers. So to me, that guy wins. Yes.
Yeah. The other scary wrestler I found, actually, I was kind of scared when I'd watch him on programming, was Papa Shango.
Oh
He always
yes.
freaked me out, because I remember he was having a feud with the late great Ultimate Warrior, and Ultimate Warrior was being interviewed by Mean Gene, and all of a sudden this black ooze started dripping down the Ultimate Warrior, and I just, well, and to me, like I was hook, line, and sinker into wrestling. I didn't know anything about kayfabe or anything like that, so this was all like, I was just, I was a little bit scared of Papa Shango and Jake the Snake, because he had his yellow python bite the Macho Man, who's my favorite wrestler, and I just didn't appreciate Jake the Snake, and I was kind of I don't like snakes either, so that probably helps.
See, it was so much better when kayfabe was in effect, because of the fact it felt real, and those villains were so real.
Yeah.
I can't remember who I was speaking to recently, but it was the fact that now people look at them as movies as opposed to a sports event.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got that disbelief when you're watching, because okay, it's staged, but it's a great show.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, when that snake bit Macho Man, that was real.
I was like, oh God, we're going to have a funeral. Like, it was just so, and it was upsetting. Like, Elizabeth came out, so they were still together at the time. And I just remember, and I think it's also my fear of snakes, but it was just so real. And there was another time The Undertaker was going to embalm Steve Austin alive, and that upset me. Like, I just, I wish I could almost wish I could go back and be in my pre-kayfabe understanding days. But like, there's some great horror moments in wrestling.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Okay, Facebook user, I'm gonna let you know, if you back out of the feed real quick, across the top it says to click on it, and you basically check off and give permission for StreamYard to print your name. That way we know who's talking, if you want to do that. He asks, what constitutes monsters in wrestling?
I think it's all about the character. Like, I was going to say size, but I don't think you have to be like enormous to be a monster. But like I know Kane was, and to me, Kane was the monster. He seemed to not have a conscience. He didn't talk a lot. Like initially, the mask, like he just seemed so menacing, because for me, I took a lot of psychology classes. I'm interested in digging into people's heads. So what a wrestler not speaking a lot, like I can't get a grasp of what's going on inside here. So I think the character, the menacing, and sometimes even not having clear motives, like just does things and you can't, like, why are they evil? Like, why did they do that?
Yeah, because Papa Shango, he's not a huge man, but like you said, that guy's a monster.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with Papa Shango, but like, we don't want to say like he's more than like 5 feet tall, but like, yeah, I don't know. I think one of my favorite characters in literature is Iago from Othello, Shakespeare's Othello, and Iago doesn't have clear motives. Like, you don't really know. For people who don't know Othello, Iago decides to destroy Othello's life by making Othello think his wife Desdemona is cheating on him, and she's not. So Othello, spoiler alert, but this came out quite a few centuries ago. Othello kills Desdemona thinking that she's cheating on him, when actually she is just as much in love with Othello as he's in love with her. And then, of course, it ends, and everybody finds out that Iago kind of drove and convinced Othello that his wife was cheating, and they ask him what his motives were, and he's like, I'm not going to say anything. And you never know.
I was just going to watch it this weekend. Now I don't have to watch it now.
I know. I've ruined Shakespeare. Yes.
I think I read that 4 times in high school. That's it's burned into your brain when you're young.
It is. Well, I took Romeo and Juliet more, so I don't like Romeo and Juliet. Quickly lost the romanticism because I had to take it so many times. But Iago, like, if you ask me what my favorite horror villain of all time is, it's Iago from Othello, like, hands down. He's just evil to be evil without any clear motivations.
That is a good one.
Yeah, it's just
Jeff has got a good point. I think of wrestling as extreme live theater. In film, you can cut when something bad happens. It's very true.
yeah. In wrestling, well, and unless the show's going to be ending, like you're stuck watching it, like if something that you're scared of is going on, it's just I think that's a very good point. I never thought of it that way, but
yeah, it kind of is, because when you go to theater, it just goes on in front of you. You're like sitting ringside.
Yeah.
Well done, Jeff. Here's a big question. Do you folks feel that the Hollywood horror industry, the independent scene is where the magic happens, have gotten sort of gratuitous when it attempts to create fear? Also, my favorite classic wrestler has to be American Dream, but in a post-85 world, Phil Brooks is my favorite. Also, my favorite to step into the horror world. Interesting. Do I think that?
I think more than any genre, I think there's a lot of direct-to-video horror releases. So does it get gratuitous? Does it get stale? Yes, because there's as a horror fan, I don't like every horror movie that comes out there. And I'm not a snob. Like, I don't just like big-budget horror. I like to watch indie horror. I'll give anybody a chance, but there's some, I think sometimes just like in books, how you can self-publish now, like anybody can, with the internet and YouTube and things, anybody can put out a film. So I think
you can make it on a phone
with your cell phone. Yeah. So so there is a lot of bad horror out there.
I always liken it to Jurassic Park when Dr. Ian, oh my God, I can't remember his last name. It's not Goldblum, because that's Jeff's last name. But anyway,
it's
Malcolm.
Yeah.
Dr.
I can think
Ian
of the
Malcolm.
actor, and I can't think of his name either. And he's been in some great horror movies as well.
Yeah, that's Jeff Goldblum.
Sam Neill.
Oh, no. Sam Neill was in it, but I'm thinking Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, you're thinking Jeff Goldblum's character. Sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
It's Ian Malcolm, because he goes, you built your knowledge on the shoulders of others and didn't stop. I could do it, or didn't stop to think I can do it, but should I do it?
Should I? Yeah.
And that's what I find a lot of times with this. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Because
there was a... Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no.
There was a horror movie that came out that the movie editor for Slam asked me to watch. And it was called Parts Unknown. And I don't like to, when it comes to books or anything, when I'm doing a review, I don't like to just bury it and say how horrible it was. But this movie was so horrible. And there was no salvaging it. And even Jake the Snake Roberts was in it.
Oh,
and
really?
His voice was in it, but he was of this kind of main demon character. But they garbled, used some kind of effect on the voice. So if I wouldn't have known it was him. And Jake the Snake, that's a good voice. You don't mess with that. And it was just, I don't recommend Parts Unknown. If you want to check it out, there's not a lot of quality pro wrestling themed horror, which somebody needs to, there you go, Rob, next film project. We need a quality pro wrestling themed horror.
What about WrestleManiacs?
I haven't seen that one. I know that one, but no, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, no.
There's another one with, it's a big, I can't think of the name. It's a big tournament. They're all wrestling. That one actually wasn't that bad. And if I think of the name, I'll put that on our Facebook page. Because there was a tournament and it's all different. There's some wrestlers. I think even Jimmy Hart's in it and different people too.
Oh,
so
really?
That one actually, yeah. I can't think of the name, but I'm good. I'll put it on the site if I think of it.
The WrestleManiacs that I was talking about is, it's one of those movies you watch and then you can say, yep, I watched it.
Yeah.
Because it's got Rey Mysterio in it.
Oh, that one. Okay.
But it's not his voice. Someone dubs over it, and it's growls and snarls, and it's I'm trying to be nice, but it's not.
I know, no, and that's how I felt when I got Parts Unknown, because you're like, I'm excited that there's a wrestling horror movie, but this is bad. There's another one I have it on my DVR. I haven't watched it yet, but there's Leprechaun Origins, and that's with the Hornswoggle is in it, and I guess that one is also not very good. But
I've
like the
heard.
Leprechaun movies with Warwick Davis, watch those ones. But this one is with, and not to knock Hornswoggle, but even he says once he saw the final product, he was not thrilled. So, but that's something that's definitely missing is having either quality horror movies that have a wrestler in it, or wrestling themed horror. That's definitely something we need to fix.
I am trying to find it now. A friend of mine has a company in Vancouver called Luchagore.
Okay.
And they make some amazing horror. And they did a short film, and it's about a masked wrestler. And at the very end, he pulls his mask off, and it takes everything off, the whole face.
Oh, that would be cool.
Wicked.
Oh, I think the movie I was talking about, the one about a tournament, and there's some actual wrestlers in it. I think it was called Monster Brawl.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Okay. That's what I think it was. I've seen it. It was years ago. And that one actually wasn't bad. Like, I had a good time watching that one.
Jeff says that there could be a horror movie surrounding Sid Vicious's leg break. Well, only if you're one of the doctors trying to get near him.
That is a horrific clip. I've actually sent that to friends who aren't horror or who aren't wrestling fans. And also my husband was asking about him. And I said, oh, well, this is why he's kind of infamous. And I showed the clip, and, among other things, he's had a career in WWE, WCW. But I think, you never recover after seeing that.
No. And it was so weird because yesterday, what was I watching? There's a person that does Wrestling Report, WrestleLamia. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
And he showed a clip of someone in a backyard wrestling who did almost the same thing.
Yes, I saw that.
He got up on the second rope and then jumped and spun and landed, and it's like, wow. I can't believe.
And I don't know if you experience this, but when something like that happens, I get a whole bunch of people sending me that in Messenger, so I get to see it over and over and over again. Yeah, I did. Thanks.
Where was
I
it?
clutched my knees when I saw that. I was just like, oh.
I did that thing where, hang on a second, I'm trying to click it. I did that thing where it's like, oh, rewind it. It's like, why did I watch it twice? I don't know. Here we go. From that same person. Wrestlers are often monsters. What incident felt like a horror movie in wrestling for you?
Well, I think what I've said, definitely the Undertaker going to embalm Steve Austin. I was really upset with that one. Any kind of coffin match. Oh, the Undertaker put the Ultimate Warrior in a coffin. It was on the Funeral Parlor. Paul Bearer had the Funeral Parlor talk show, and they even made it look like they were making it airtight, the coffin, and then eventually they got it open, and like an unconscious Ultimate Warrior fell out. Like, there's been so many great, shocking, and traumatizing. Yeah. And there's actually coming out, supposed to be before the end of the year, from Squared Circle Comics. They're going to have a Gangrel graphic novel.
Oh, nice.
So people who are Gangrel Brood fans,
I'm down for that. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's and if you're a fan of the Lost Boys, that's what I always thought of when Gangrel and Edge and Christian came out.
Exactly. Jeff says another horror movie, The Biography of New Jack. Okay, I'm done interrupting with jokes. My apologies.
It was the autobiography. He's involved.
He did it. Oh. It's
not as scandalous as I felt. He was pretty New Jack, please don't be. I'm kind of afraid of New Jack, which people probably should be.
There's another monster.
We should have mentioned, but it's a book that's it wasn't as shocking and crazy as I thought. He keeps it it's pretty in some ways guarded, like a lot of stuff about his personal life, like his children, things like that, which, I understand. Like, I'm nosy and I want to know more, I'll admit that, but they're human beings. They have the right to what they want to share of their personal life. But it's not a long book either. So it's not, he worked with another writer on it. So I don't know if he was just not as forthcoming. I've never interviewed New Jack, so I don't know what it's like to interview him and have a conversation with him. But still plenty of traumatizing moments from the career of New Jack. But I was a little disappointed. It wasn't. I was hoping for more, but I'm nosy by nature. So.
Someone just put another movie up here. I had to look to see if it was real, and it is Wrestlers versus Zombies.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
It's
Good
actually
recommendations.
it's actually called Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies. And
Okay.
quick, I'm going to share the. Maybe I am.
People are. I love that we're probably going to get like lots of movie recommendations through this. Oh, okay.
With Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Oh, well, then I gotta watch it. If Roddy Piper's in it.
And that looks like Kurt Angle.
I can't see. Oh, it does look. Yeah, that does look like Kurt Angle.
He's a little bigger.
Yeah, I'm just very nearsighted, so I'm like.
I got the screen right in front of me and I can't see, so don't worry.
Oh, I know. Oh, I'm gonna have to check that one out. I haven't seen that one.
Good call.
So maybe there isn't such a problem with. I mean, I should wait till I watch it, but maybe there are some quality pro wrestling themed horror movies out there. Maybe all is not lost.
Yeah, maybe this might be a wait and see.
Yes.
Just the title scares me, only because I also watched Zombie Strippers.
Yeah,
So-
that sounds like a classic.
Yeah, Tito Ortiz is in it, so that's honestly why I watched it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's fun. Robert Englund's in it.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's just gone up. The bar has been raised because I love Robert Englund.
His character was cool.
Did you know Robert Englund? Whoops, lost my pencil. Was in the movie The Star Is Born, the one with Barbra Streisand.
Really?
He's not on there very long, but he's yeah. I think he gets in a. Is he getting a fight in a bar or something? He's not. Yeah, like it's not like he's on very long and makes a huge impact. I just had heard. I read his book and heard he was in it, and then I was able to pay attention more and saw that he was in it. So
That's cool.
yeah, he's done quite a bit.
I had no idea. Jeff says, if I was a kid still, the Taker versus AJ Styles Boneyard match would have gotten him for sure.
I think that's my favorite cinematic offering that they've done.
Yes. That I think it was WrestleMania when they first did that. Right? Because there was that.
Yeah.
And there was the Firefly
The Funhouse.
Funhouse. That's it.
That was
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt and John Cena. That one I didn't enjoy as much, but I don't know. I like the Funhouse, but sorry?
I like the cinematic aspect of how they did it. Instead of in front of a crowd, they did it like a show almost.
I did like the Vince McMahon marionette, the puppet. That was, this is good shit. Like, it was just bizarre, but I don't know. It was good. I don't know, but if for cinematic, the AJ Styles Undertaker, I think is the one to beat. That's been my favorite so far. I'm not a huge fan of cinematic matches, but
Yeah. The guy says here, Giants versus Monster, and there's Kamala, Big Show, Andre, Abdullah the Butcher, Vader, Kevin Nash, Bundy, and Papa Shango.
Abdul the Butcher is very monster-esque and scary too. We didn't bring up him. I watched on the WWE Network. They have a whole bunch of different Halloween Havoc matches, and I hadn't seen the Chamber of Horrors match in a while, which is kind of a clusterfuck. But Abdullah is in it. He's the one. Spoiler alert: he gets put in the electric chair-esque device at the end, and the switch pulled, so his team loses. But yeah, he's a great character monster too, and just the stabbing people with the fork, and then he's always bloody, yeah, and just a viciousness. Like he's the definition of a viciousness.
But see, on there, Kevin Nash, I don't consider a monster. Like he's a big guy,
Yeah,
but I wouldn't consider him a monster. Kamala, yeah, because like you said, you never heard him talk.
That scared me as a kid. Kamala scared me too. Yeah.
He came with a spear.
Yeah. Then I'd see interviews and documentaries with him later, and he seemed like the sweetest guy. And then I just was, so maybe that's why they didn't have him talk either, because he just sounds like late great Kamala, we must say, rest in peace. But he sounded like a sweetheart. Yeah.
And then finally said Dungeon of Doom. Interesting storyline. Let's put it that way.
To say the least. Yeah, the Kevin Nash kind of threw me a bit. So for the person who posted that, if you want to share why Kevin Nash is one of your monsters, maybe just the giant aspect because he was tall.
Yeah. Oh, and Jeff said, what is your favorite female match in history? Got to give those ladies some
Of
praise.
course we do.
Also, Kevin Nash's best out of wrestling work was in Rock of Ages.
Was he in Rock of Ages?
He was, but
Was he?
I would still pivot that over to, oh my God, The Longest Yard.
Ah, yeah, that one.
I think he was brilliant in that movie.
He was also in Magic Mike. Some of the fellas might not remember the Magic Mike movies, but I only saw the first one. But he was, he dressed up as Tarzan for one of the dances. Yeah,
Yep.
because apparently some
there.
ladies are into that. To each their own. So
he was good in that.
Female matches. I liked the one. It was just on Halloween Havoc for NXT yesterday. Io Shirai and Candice LeRae. It was a tables, ladders, and scares match. They spun the wheel and make the deal, and that was a really good match. It wasn't, it was fun. And Candice LeRae, as I've said, I'm a Nightmare Before Christmas fan, and both Candice and her husband Johnny Gargano had matches yesterday on the Halloween Havoc, and they both had Nightmare Before Christmas garb, like gear.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know my favorite. I'm a big fan of, and this isn't super scary, but I'm a big fan of whenever Bailey and Sasha Banks are in the ring. Like, when those two are together, I could just watch that for hours. They just can do no wrong, in my opinion.
And this is going to show exactly when I watched it, but I'm a big fan of Trish Stratus and Lita.
Yeah.
Anything those two did seemed to be gold.
Yeah.
I can't remember them having a bad match.
No. And as a Canadian, I should have mentioned Trish first. I'm going to get my passport taken away. But
you remembered Bob and Doug. You're good. Oh, Jeff said, yep, The Longest Yard. I concede to that 100%.
I think I even saw that movie in the theater. Remember theaters, movie theaters?
I've heard of those.
Yes. We used to go and watch movies all together.
Let me ask you a question then. What was the first horror movie you remember watching? Like what pulled you into horror?
Well, this one didn't pull me in. The very first horror movie, I was probably about 5, like kindergarten age. And I classify this as a horror movie. It was called Bride of Boogedy from Walt Disney. It was the sequel to Mr. Boogedy. Oh. And if you remember, I think it was Sunday nights. I don't know if this was in the US, but in Canada, they had Magical World of Disney program on Sundays. So my mom wasn't paying attention. Okay, Jamie's watching Magical World of Disney. I had nightmares like for a week every night after that movie because I didn't like horror right away. I wasn't into it. I was terrified. And then I remember, if people are familiar with the author R.L. Stine, he did the Fear Street book series. I read the very first one, aptly titled Halloween Party, was the first one I read. And we had a small library, so when it was, we were lucky to get that one. I don't even know if we ever got any more Fear Street. But then I was kind of intrigued by it. And then we got the channel TBS. And TBS, there's certain movies TBS likes to play a lot. And Carrie was one of them. And that's kind of, I was like, okay, I think I want to see Carrie. And then the interest kind of developed. What about you?
Oh, I think I was 11 or 12. Oh, Jeffrey got it right. R.L. Stine is Goosebumps too. Yes.
He also did Goosebumps. Yeah.
Yep. 11 or 12. And I watched Evil Dead.
Ooh.
The original, and fell in love with it because it was scary as crap, but it was the amount of blood they tossed around and then the voices and
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell, exactly. How could you not like the film, right?
Yeah.
But
I even like the remake of that one.
The remake's not bad.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
I just found Evil Dead is tongue in cheek to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to make it really grounded in reality and make it very horror. And it just didn't translate the same to me.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's one of those things. I think they should have just made the film and not called it Evil Dead.
Maybe, yeah.
Cabin in the Woods. Oh, wait, that's taken. Something like that. I find a couple of them, like Ghostbusters, the reboot with Melissa McCarthy and all that. I don't think that should have been a Ghostbusters film. I feel like a lot of the time they do it just for marketing and to pull in old viewers, but the old viewers hated it. And I think it could have gotten a bigger market just on its own.
Just to say, I'm an old viewer of Ghostbusters, I loved the female version. Did I love it more than the original Ghostbusters? No. But my husband has said the same thing you've said, that you could have just done it and called it something different. Like it just, and I do get why people had I don't get the like the sexist feelings about it, but I do get this was not like, because it's so beloved. It's such a beloved film. And actually, I think that's what we're going to watch on Halloween, because my son has never seen the original Ghostbusters.
Oh, nice.
Although I have failed as a parent, he wants nothing to do with the macabre. He does not like spooky, scary, nothing. He is not interested. He's 10.
Give him a couple of years.
But right now he's like, nope, too scary, and just walks away. But he's not a big movie watcher. Like a lot of the younger people now watch a lot of YouTube and stuff, and he's just not a huge movie watcher to begin with. But we'll try.
My son from 12 to 13, it was like a switch flipped. Nope, I don't want scary. Don't even let me look at something scary. Okay. And then 13 hit, and now we're watching, the Silence of the Lambs franchise, or Predator. He's right into it now. So give him time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kenny's here. He said the Yeti and Mordecai, those were your scary monsters. I think that's what he's talking about.
We should have also mentioned one of the great wrestling monsters is Kenny Casanova.
Yes.
He's very scary.
Right there. Look at that face.
We love you, Kenny. This is all in jest.
I can't even keep that. No, I can't keep that picture up.
Is there, what was I going to say? I was thinking, what's a popular horror movie that everybody else seems to like that you don't?
See, that's tough, because there's only a handful of movies I actually don't like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, even if it's sexy. Yeah, that's a word. Even if it's poorly made or something like that, I can always find something good to watch about it.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very tough question. I know there was a film called You're Next that I watched it. I didn't like it.
Okay.
And people went crazy about it. So I gave it another watch. And actually, I didn't mind it the second time. But the first time I didn't like it. I don't know why. But I think that would be the closest I could come to that kind of title.
Do you think it's because of your film background that maybe you have a different way of looking at films? Like what goes into it? The blood, sweat, and tears?
I really wonder, because literally I don't watch a film now without looking at blocking or looking at how they did a certain shot, or, editing even. I find myself critiquing the editing. So I do believe I now, whether intentionally or unintentionally, have a different eye when it comes to film than I ever did before.
I don't like The Shining, and people get very upset when I say that.
Really?
I don't.
I might be one of those people.
I know. Okay, so time to go, everyone.
And that's it.
I got it. Yeah. There was a mini series that came on when I was younger, like maybe a teenager, and I don't know if it was NBC, CBS, or whatever, and it was like 4 to 6 hours or so. Rebecca De Mornay was in it, and I liked that so much better. The original Shining movie, and I know people love it and it's sacred. I liked Dr. Sleep, which just came out. I didn't think I was, because I didn't like The Shining, and I watched Dr. Sleep and I was just like, wow, this movie's amazing, but I did not like The Shining.
Do you think it's because of the production? Because you remember, this is, I think, early 80s when they filmed it, and if you watch films from the early 80s or late 70s, the pacing is completely different than today.
Yeah.
And
I was just bored. I just found it very slow and lackluster, and I do have a low attention span, so I will admit that, but I've watched other movies that are a slow burn, and I can get through it, but that one I couldn't. It was just like, nope, start the fire already. Just too much slow burn. Yeah.
Burn it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's a question. If more kids are drawn to YouTube and on-demand entertainment, generating content for shorter attention spans, do wrestling and horror production have to change and to adapt, or will they survive as they are?
That's a very good question.
Yes.
I don't know. because there's still us old fogies out there, me and Rob, that still like our movies as they are. I welcome adaptations and people trying new things. But
like I'll admit,
I have to ponder.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I think it was 8 months ago, well, just when the beginning of the shutdown, I started watching YouTube videos. I don't even know what prompted it. Oh, yes, I do. Politics. I started watching all these political videos.
Yeah.
But I found I was watching all these things on YouTube, 10 minutes long, 12 minutes long, right? And then I went to sit and watch a movie, and I put it on for about 10 minutes, and then I got up and started doing stuff. And then I did that about 4 times, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm brainwashing myself that if it's more than 20 minutes, I can't watch it. I can't sit and watch it. So I had to break myself of that again. And it was a little difficult, but I still love the hour and a half, the 2 hours. Like I said, right now I'm in the middle of a film festival on Super Channel up here in Canada.
Okay.
Called Blood in the Snow. And to do that, I have to watch these movies and then interview the people for the podcast. And I got to watch the whole movie. So I sit and watch. And okay, I'm going to bring up another point there too. I like doing that because, and one of the interviews I did last night, when I watch these movies, I have no idea what they're about. Okay. I mean, literally nothing, because not like Avengers where you get 85 trailers and then you walk in and you know 90% of the film. I put this movie on. It's called Anything for Jackson. And the opening is very sweet. It's got an elderly couple. She's cooking dinner and he's over there eating. He goes, I don't want to complain, but my hem's off. She goes, oh, you're crazy, you know. And I think we're late. And they run out the door and it's one solid shot. And then all of a sudden they come in carrying a woman, get bound and gagged, and take her into an elevator and go upstairs. And
that changed quickly.
Yeah, it's like, wow, that took a left turn.
Yeah.
And then the movie goes from there. But when you don't know the film, I find you are shocked and you enjoy it like 100% more than you do going in with the trailers.
Well, that's like we were talking a bit before, because you recommended to me to watch Yoga Hosers by Kevin Smith. I'm a big Kevin Smith fan and I love Tusk, so I don't know why it took me so long to watch Yoga Hosers, but I only watched it a couple days ago. And I knew nothing going in other than it takes place in Canada. Mm-hmm. And so seeing I don't really want to spoil it, but there's a very unique movie monster, tiny little mini movie monster in the movie. And I knew nothing. And all of a sudden it comes on the screen. And you're like, what? And I remember even telling my husband about it. And he's like, that's Kevin Smith. I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, it sounds about right. Like it's just bizarre, off the wall. And I don't think it's for everyone. And I did, as I said to you, I preferred Tusk, but it was so fun. And just the, we're both Canadian, and the over enunciation of the Canadian accent, like everything was sorry about that. And so, which I have to deliberately talk like that to do that. But I don't think we all talk like that. But yeah, I think there's something to be said about just going. Another movie I was really surprised. I don't know if you heard the original Martyrs. It's a French film. If you haven't seen it, it's intense. But that one I knew nothing, and then you're like, holy crap! And it kind of has a moment, kind of like what you described in the movie you're watching for the film festival, like just all of a sudden, big switch. Yeah,
left turn.
Yeah.
Hey, see that road? No, we're going this way.
And they're like, okay, I guess we're going that way.
Here, Kenny puts in here, I really like the Arbor Dead series, but not the reboot. Oops, Evil Dead.
I was going to say, is he talking about Evil Dead? I haven't watched that one. I think I'm one of the only people who hasn't watched it yet.
The reboot is okay, but again, it's one of those ones that should not have been called that. It just should have been made on its own. And he said they saved the franchise with Ash versus the Evil Dead, and yeah, they did.
Kenny likes that one. He's talked about that movie before. Yeah.
Oh, big time. And he said here too, even The Boys has really good elements of horror. Lots of shades of gray. Well, yeah, lots of heels, that's for sure. Have you watched
that one? I haven't watched either. There's so much content.
Oh.
And Kenny gives me crap all the time. He's like, you call yourself a horror fan? You haven't watched Dexter? And I'm like, I would love to. Yes, I want to watch it. It's on my list. And then just all the books I have too, because like you with the film festival, I have to read the whole book. So.
Yep, you need to watch Dexter. Apparently,
it's on my list.
Apparently next year they're releasing a new season.
That's how this kind of got the conversation with Kenny about Dexter got started. But
yeah,
there's so many I want to watch, and I haven't watched the new with Netflix one, the Bly Manor one. I haven't watched that yet, but I watched the Hill House series they did.
Yeah, I haven't
Untitled.
watched the second one yet either.
Yeah, and I haven't watched Ratchet yet either. Just so many that I just
The
so many
Boys,
good
though,
series.
is only 16 episodes. I think it's 8 per season.
Okay,
So
that's the Amazon one, right?
yeah, it's a short watch, but it's good. And it shows superheroes in a whole different light. Like the opening shot is of a guy and girl standing there talking, and all of a sudden she just disappears, right? And he gets splattered with blood. And you look down the road, and this speedster stops. He's now covered in blood. He just ran right through her. And then he goes, "Oops, sorry, gotta go." And he takes off. So the guy's left there holding two hands, like literally, it looks like this. He's standing there holding these hands. And then he hears on the news later, he goes, "Yeah, I was doing this, but she stepped off the curb right into my way." And the guy's like, "We were on the sidewalk." So he joins this group that are trying to hold heroes accountable or kill them, either way, because
Okay.
they are very corrupt. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I think my husband has watched that one too. And my husband's not a huge horror fan, but there's he likes superheroes and he likes comic books. So some of these he watches and then he tells you about it, and that you're just like, okay, I got another one I got to write down. So trying to get to them all.
Here's another big question from Jeff. "I think AEW is a great example of making the best of all worlds. The future of wrestling will have to incorporate a more dynamic business plan, including allowing wrestlers to start utilizing social media and other things like Twitch to gain a following. When you actually treat wrestlers like independent contractors, everybody's bottom line rises." I can't argue with that.
Those are all valid. And I was a big fan of AEW had the little musical number with Jericho the other day, and some people were like, "No, yeah, and some people did not like it. I thought it was hilarious. I mean, I don't want the whole episode to be musical number. Oh, maybe I do. I shouldn't say that, but I don't know how that would go. But I applaud trying new things. Like, even though I wasn't a huge fan of, we talked about the Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt John Cena thing, but I appreciated that it was something different.
Yes.
I didn't really think it was suitable for WrestleMania, but I hold WrestleMania pretty precious. So, but I do like innovation, like even, and it applies to horror too. Like, there's a lot of people trying all these different things. Like Ari Aster is a director. He did Hereditary and he did Midsummer. He's really trying a lot of new things and not cliched horror. So I welcome innovation. It doesn't always work, but in horror and wrestling, I think innovation's always welcome.
Well, see, we were talking about that last night. We did the interview with the cast and crew of Anything for Jackson. Okay. And they did their filming February to March. I think March 13th is when they wrapped, and March 14th is when everything shut down.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Like, they got so lucky there was no pickups or anything like that. But even then, the director was there with the writer, and they're going, "Yeah, our editor, we didn't know what we were going to do because you can't be in the same buildings and all this," because this was during the big lockdown, right? So what he ended up doing, he Twitch streamed his editing to the director and the writer. So they watched him edit in real time on Twitch, and then they're on the phones or however they were talking, but that's how they communicated. And it was all just, thinking outside the box, especially in today's environment.
Well, even kind of how with all the interviews that are happening online, like with Kenny Casanova and John Cosper started the Wrestling Bookmarks COVID Con because, he wanted to provide some content and get the word out about wrestling books for all these authors and wrestlers and stuff. But yeah, exactly. We're all at home, so let's bring it to the homes. It's
exactly. That was brilliant, and you see that so much more now. Even when we were doing our virtual Q&As, like what they ended up doing. Have you been to a film festival? You must have.
Yes.
Right. So
a short film festival.
Okay, but
when
usually
I was still reporting for newspapers, I had to go to a short film festival. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. But usually they show the film and then they have a Q&A afterwards on stage with whoever happens to be there. For Blood in the Snow, we're talking, and we couldn't do that this year because you can't be in a physical theater. You can't have all these people flying in. So what we ended up doing is for 2 weeks, I did Q&As virtually like this.
Yeah. That
were then recorded, and we sent them to Super Channel. So now the movie plays, and then they play a portion of that Q&A after the movie. So
that's really cool.
It's still like being at a film festival. you know. And even Kelly, the gentleman who runs the festival, the director, they sent out boxes to people that purchased merchandise, and it came with the lanyard that you would have gotten if you had gone to the film festival. It's got a program guide, you know, everything festival is still there. You know, they kept it as close as they could with this whole new format.
Well, and I applaud the innovation, and you know, it's, to me, it's better than just canceling everything. You know, we all want to stay safe, but there are ways to get around it. It's not the same as being in person, of course, but I applaud that innovation and having content for people, because we're all at home, or we're all, especially the parents who have to be so involved in online schooling. We need a break. We need an outlet.
The time when content is crucial and it's strangled to make. So Kenny's got one here. I also have to say, oh my God, watch Raised by Wolves by Ridley Scott. A new
Kenny's
series.
a teacher. How does he have time to watch all these TV shows?
Right? Kenny, we need to talk about this.
Maybe he makes his class watch them. Puts his lesson plans around the shows.
Sci-fi horror series with the best writing and spectacular visuals I've seen in a long time in a series.
I'm writing it down. Raised by Wolves.
Okay. And Jeff's got a question for us. MJF is the only true heel left. Agree or disagree?
Huh.
I'm going to have to let you feel this. I've seen clips and stuff, but I'm not current, so I don't know.
I think he's definitely one of the top heels. Is he the top heel? I don't know. I'd be curious what other people think. I don't watch tons of the new programming. I kind of try and stay on the pay-per-views more so and that, but
I only asked the question
is he better than the heels of yesteryear? Time will tell. Well, I mean, he's a heel who can sing very well, so.
He did say he's the only true heel left. So I think he's just talking about right now.
He does stand out, and I don't know if it's just with COVID, if the program, there's been kind of a decline in wrestling viewership. This is there'd be experts who could tell you more than I could, especially during COVID, and I think especially when wrestling's been affected not having an audience in the stadiums when they're performing. Like, I know they're trying to have the Thunderdome, WWE is where the screens. But he might be the last true heel. But I hope other people step up and try and challenge him. We need some more heels, some more great heels.
And see, this is the other drawback with watching YouTube videos, because literally when I click on it, it could have been from 4 years ago. Yeah. There's talk right now of Roman Reigns being pushed as a heel. But he is. But
is he as good as MJF? I don't know. The match he had with the Jimmy Uso. Sorry, thinking of names. That he was a great. He is having a good heel turn. I think it still needs some more time to develop, but it's definitely they're telling a great story, like cousin versus cousin, family versus family. Who's the top of the food chain in the family? Who sits at the head of the table? Like it's a really good. So we have to give Roman Reigns credit as a heel too.
Okay. Jeff says this is MJF, stays in character in interviews, keeps kayfabe alive, and there are some funny clips of him as a kid, and he acted the same way.
That I didn't know. That's funny.
That is cool.
He's really into this. Like he's like old school heel. He's like, and then doesn't drive with baby faces.
Nope. Separate cars, separate end of the locker room. Kenny said, androids tasked with repopulating a distant planet with human embryos to bring back humanity, and a cult shows up to do the same. Are you pitching a show to us here, Kenny?
Yeah, I'd watch that.
So would I. He posted it twice.
Maybe I don't know if that's the Raised by Wolves that he is referring to.
Oh, I bet you.
Maybe. I haven't watched it yet, so I've been reading a lot. I'm reading the 1997 Wrestling Observer yearbook by Dave Meltzer, and it's massive. It's a massive book, so it's taking me a while.
Oh wow! See, that would be fun to read.
It is. There's so many things that I didn't even realize that happened in 1997. So it was a big year for wrestling, and I mean, I was I think I was still a teenager at the time, like 15, 16 years old. So it's very nostalgic.
That is cool. And Kenny said,
he's
yeah,
talking about
it's wolves.
wolves.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Kenny.
Rob, did you ever dress up as a wrestler for Halloween growing up?
If I did, it was so bad and traumatic that I've blocked it out. I honestly don't remember ever dressing up as a wrestler.
It seems to be. Well, I have this is my attempt because I have the longer brunette hair. Well, it was longer. This was my attempt at a wrestling
nice
costume. This cost me a whole $10 at a WWE show. This is the only wrestler I've dressed up as because it's very easy. You just wear all black and you put the mask on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I took my son trick-or-treating this and people were not sure who I was because I know it's shocking, but not everybody's a wrestling fan. So
I can't believe that, honestly. Jeff said, "Gotta head out, folks. Have a great rest of the podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed this." Thanks, Jeff.
That's great.
You brought up some great points. And
yes, he should be on here. He was
well, there's a guest we could look at. I do know definitely. One person we need to get on here is Madman Pondo. The man is a horror junkie. He introduced me to a couple horrors I had never heard of.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got to get him on here too.
Him and I have been chatting on Messenger. I've gotten to know him a little bit because on the Bookmark show, there's a weekly show now. They had a death match panel, and I don't know a lot about death matches. I wasn't exposed to a lot of them, so I really found it interesting to watch that show. And then I kind of asked John Cosper, who I know because he is also an author, so I've gotten to know him, to recommend some, and he brought Pondo into the discussion, and he's recommended some for me to watch. And I picked up his book too. His book has, like, if you haven't read his book yet, it's really good, and there's horror in it. He's been in 2001 Maniacs with Robert Englund.
Yes.
So yeah, he'd be great to talk to.
Did he recommend Girl House?
No, he didn't.
Oh, that was the first one he recommended to me. Really good.
I will rate that one.
And I'll suggest one to you that I suggested to him. The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
I've seen that one.
That is so good.
It is a good one, yeah.
Yes.
It's so different. Yeah, Brian Cox is in that one, and
Emile Hirsch.
Yeah. And yes. Yeah, and Brian Cox is such a great actor. Brian Cox was actually the original Hannibal Lecter.
Yep, from Manhunter.
I was going to say Mindhunter, but that's the book by John Douglas. So
with Manhunter, the original Carl Grissom.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Oh, the original Grissom?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I can picture him in my head too.
Also played Pat Garrett in Young Guns too.
Oh, that one, Young Guns. Oh my God, that's many decades ago.
That's it. I'm gonna punish myself for forgetting his name. Let me see. Young Guns 2.
Oh, Young Guns. And there's so many from my days, teen heartthrobs in that movie.
Oh yeah, it was just full of them.
Yeah.
Even John Bon Jovi's in that one.
Bon Jovi did the main song.
He's actually in it too.
Oh, is he in it too? Okay.
Very, very briefly. William Peterson. There we go.
William Peterson, yeah.
They're having the uprising where the people are coming out of the cages in the ground. And he's the one guy, he comes up, he goes to shoot, and then I think it was Billy turns around and shoots him, and he flies back into the cage. That was John Bon Jovi.
Oh, I'll have to watch that again because I don't even remember the last time I watched that. Oh, John Bon Jovi. John Bon Jovi's been in a few movies. I have a Halloween-esque question. If you were to go trick-or-treating, if we were allowed to, in some places we're not allowed to, which pro wrestler's home would you have to visit, and which pro wrestler's house would you avoid at all costs?
I would have to go to the $1 Million Man's house.
That's
because you're getting quality candy, and you're going to get lots of it.
But he might make you do something like kiss his feet or something first.
Probably, but people had no problem with that during the 80s and 90s. Yes.
Yeah. He might do it.
Who would you have to go see?
I'd want to go see The Undertaker. I mean, who's more Halloween-esque than The Undertaker?
And see, I think that's the one I would be afraid to go see.
Well, I'd probably also be afraid. He's quite intimidating. But I'd be afraid to go to New Jack's house. Or Sabu's house.
Period. Just ever. Not Halloween doesn't matter. I'm not going to New Jack's house. Nope.
Yeah. We could go to Madman Pondo's house. That'd be fun.
Oh, that'd be a blast.
Yeah, that'd be a good house. I'm sure he'd have some wonderful treats. And also, I think he's always wearing a different horror shirt. Mm-hmm. So even if he didn't have any treats, maybe we could watch horror movies with him. So
exactly. Oh, he'd love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, I just looked at the clock. It has been just over an hour. I apologize. I think I might have to wrap it up because I have to
That's okay. Yes, you are busy. Like you do what, like 20,000 other podcasts?
So, maybe 19.
No, this was, I think, is a good way to start it off. And something I hope people, if they do tune in, like let us know who you'd like to see on the show.
Yep.
What you want to talk about,
Definitely topics.
Definitely want to hear some ideas.
Yeah, this has been a blast. Like I looked up and it was 45 minutes. It's like, wow, that went by. And then I just looked up now and it's like over an hour. It's like, whoosh. And that's a sign to me. That's a sign of fun because
we weren't sitting there like staring at each other trying to figure out what to say.
Exactly. Oh, even Kenny said this show was great.
Well, then you know what? That's all we needed.
Yeah, if Kenny says it, we're good.
Kenny's not going to kick us off the Bookmarks Facebook page. So
that's right.
It's always good.
Don't worry. That's why I broadcast on other channels too. Oh, Sabu should do this. He's a horror core. He is.
Does Sabu like horror? That does make sense if he would.
I didn't realize it, but yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
He kind of scares me a little bit though.
After COVID Con, he doesn't scare me anymore.
Were you the one who talked to him at COVID Con?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember. I forgot. I was going to watch it to check that, and I just didn't get a chance with online schooling to do that. Okay. What was that like?
It was fun because it was him and a couple other people. But apparently his camera didn't show everybody. It just showed him. So when we weren't talking to him, he just stood there and held up his merchandise, and kind of showed
I remember that actually.
And he brought something else up. So he seems like such the greatest guy,
That's good.
I
really liked his book, and we're trying to figure out something with Kenny's show to talk to him because I really enjoyed reading about Sabu. So
well, there you go, Kenny.
If he's a horror fan, I know he's done some horrific things in his matches, and horrific things have happened to him. So probably a good fit.
Well, let's see about getting him on here.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Rob.
And I guess we'll tune in when we can.
Yes. Well, if everybody gives their ideas and watches the show, we can do more of these. So let's keep going.
Keep the ideas coming.
And stay scary and happy Halloween.